Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to News Dose, and we're now moving into that part of the year where it's just a lot of fun for gamers. June is going to be a fun month. We already know that Xbox is going to have their summer showcase, which includes a Call of Duty Direct. That event just overall sounds absolutely loaded if all of the rumors turn out to be true. Then you have Nintendo, which announced they have their own Direct in June as well, which should tell us about the second half of 2024. But as far as PlayStation, they're the one that's still a bit of a mystery here. We're all kind of expecting a showcase from them as well, but we've yet to get the official confirmation from them. I mean, who knows? They might announce something as early as today. But we actually got two different PlayStation leaks to talk about, which not only narrows that event down, but also includes two PlayStation 5 exclusives that will allegedly release this year, and one of which I think is super exciting. Now, we do also have a Nintendo Switch update to talk about because they just did the impossible. And then we got another update for Stellar Blade as well. So do make sure to stay tuned for all of that. But let's just go and get right into these PlayStation 5 leaks. And I want to start with the game that I'm personally just absolutely thrilled about. Now, both of these leaks do come from Bilbo Kuhn, which has a great track record. As always, though, take them as you will. But according to him, a new Astrobot game will be announced within the next 15 days. Now, if you ask me, I honestly believe that Astro's Playroom is secretly one of the best PlayStation 5 games to date. I genuinely do feel that way. I think it's one of the best 3D platformers ever made, and I can really say the same thing for Astrobot VR Rescue Mission as well. You know, a lot of people missed out on that game because it was a PSVR exclusive, but it was a fantastic game. And that's also where this story starts to get really interesting. I think Team Asobi has really proven themselves by this point. And that's why I've been adamant over the last few years that I want to see them get a better opportunity to showcase their talent with a traditional PlayStation 5 game. I don't want their next game to be another PlayStation VR exclusive like Rescue Mission last generation because there's just not enough people on that hardware. And his future is, I mean, honestly, it's kind of questionable by this point. So I want Sony to let Team Asobi loose, give them a real budget, and let's see what they can do with a traditional PlayStation 5 game. And right now, that seems to be exactly what Sony's doing. According to this leak, the next Astrobot game is believed to be a traditional PlayStation 5 title. As of this moment, it appears it will not be a PlayStation VR 2 game, which, depending on how you look at that, that could be good news or it could be bad news. Personally, I think it's great news because, like I said, this really just kind of gives Team Asobi a better opportunity to showcase their talent to the 60 million PlayStation 5 owners out there. They wouldn't have that same opportunity with PlayStation VR hardware, which has not sold all that great. Now, I will say this, though. I do feel bad for the early PSVR 2 adopters. The PSVR 2 situation reminds me a lot of how they treated the Vita. It just kind of feels like it's been abandoned by Sony. And you know, who knows? They might have something else up their sleeves. Maybe they could announce a big PSVR 2 announcement at that upcoming showcase. But Team Asobi was definitely one of the better VR developers from last generation. In my opinion, they did make the best VR game in Astrobot VR Rescue Mission. I think it really is that good. So to hear that the next Astrobot game might not support PSVR 2, you know, if that's true, I think it's a big blow to any kind of hope that Sony can turn things around for that technology. Whatever the case may be, though, I mean, you know, I'm super excited about this announcement. It honestly very well might be my most anticipated game if it's actually true. And I'm just really interested to see how they'll do a traditional PS5 game. Like, seriously, don't sleep on Team Asobi. If you haven't already tried Astro's Playroom, please do so because it's great, especially if you have a long history with PlayStation hardware. You can tell there was a lot of love and attention poured into that game, and I just can't wait to see what they do with their next title. And that's the other good part about this story, because from what Jeff Grubb said earlier this year, it might release sometime this year in 2024. We could actually be playing this one rather soon. Now, as for this other game here, though, this is also a leak from Bilbo Kuhn, and according to him, he said, according to the latest information we have been able to obtain, it seems that the second announcement regarding Concord is planned for very soon. We estimate that it will take place within 15 days. So this is 2 different PlayStation 5 exclusives that will be announced within the next 15 days, or at least according to him, which... yeah, I think that kind of narrows down the PlayStation Showcase where they'll likely make these announcements. Again, they could even announce that showcase by the time I upload this video. But nonetheless, Concord is their next big live service title. It's apparently some kind of sci-fi shooter, though we really don't know much else about it outside of its small teaser, which told us, honestly, next to nothing. That was probably one of the more strange announcement trailers that I've seen from Sony. I'm not really sure what they were expecting from people, but it is expected to release on both PC and PlayStation 5 day one sometime in 2024. I think that's kind of their plan going forward with their live service games. I do think that they will continue to release them on PC alongside PlayStation because that really benefits those live service titles. But either way, we should get a better reveal for Concord in the coming weeks, maybe even as early as next week. Let me know what you all think about all this, though. Are you excited to see Concord and the next Astrobot game? I know I am personally, an Astrobot alone, I think, makes their showcase a must-watch event, or at least in my opinion. Okay, so let's go and talk about Nintendo, because they just achieved what a lot of people thought was impossible early in the Switch generation. Yeah, check this out. The Nintendo Switch is now officially the best-selling console of all time in Japan. Yes, it just surpassed the Nintendo DS to claim that #1 spot, and you can see the numbers here posted up by Genki. The Nintendo Switch has sold 32,903,701 units in Japan, whereas the Nintendo DS has sold 32,864,129 units. I mean, this is crazy, crazy impressive. And one of the reasons I say that is not just because it is now the best-selling in Japan, but also because the Nintendo Switch still has a complete holiday period exclusively to itself before its eventual successor releases sometime in 2025. You know, the Switch is still selling very, very well, and that does kind of bring us up to an even bigger discussion. For now, this is only in Japan, but there's also a legitimate chance that the Switch will just flat out become the best-selling console worldwide when all said and done. That is very possible at the rate that it's currently going. Right now, it currently sits at 141 million units sold worldwide, but the PlayStation 2 and the DS, they aren't too far away. The DS has sold 154 million, and then you have the PlayStation 2, which sold around 155 million. Now, that number is a little bit more on the controversial side of things, but by the end of 2024, the Switch will likely be above that coveted 150 million mark as well, making it only the third console to ever do that. And it's also important to keep in mind here that the Switch will continue to sell even after its successor releases. It really could be that more budget-friendly option there for a while, and that might push it beyond the DS and the PlayStation 2. Nonetheless, though, I mean, for it to become the best-selling console in Japan, that alone is incredible. It also kind of proves what I've been saying about Square Enix as well. I keep saying that this is one of the reasons that they need to find a way to put all of their games on the Switch successor. If they can get Final Fantasy running on that Switch successor, they need to make sure it happens because Nintendo completely dominates Japan, and that's a rather important region for Square Enix where a lot of their games kind of appeals to that audience. So come on, Square Enix, do the right thing when the Switch successor releases. Seriously, though, big congrats to Nintendo here. It's been a special generation, and, you know, it's kind of hard to think about it this way, but we might not ever see a console sell this much ever again. There's zero guarantee on something like that. Now, one last thing that we do need to discuss here, though, is Stellar Blade. I hate to talk about its controversy once again because it's really just kind of been all over the place. But here we are with, hopefully, one last update for this topic. So I understand that a lot of people were upset about its censorship. A few costumes were taken out of the game for its day one update, and that struck a chord for consumers because up to that point, by all indication, there was going to be zero censorship. That's been a big selling point for Stellar Blade because in a lot of ways, it's a game that goes against modern trends that people don't like in gaming. So really any kind of censorship, even if it was something small, it bothered a lot of people. Well, after a lot of backlash online, Shift Up heard you all loud and clear because in its latest update, those uncensored costumes have been brought back. Now, one of which is a different color, but they are back. So there you go. If that's something that you wanted, big congrats. Your voice has been heard. The thing that I really like seeing, though, is that Stellar Blade is selling very well, which tells you that it's doing something right. And we got more information today that reveals it's been doing extremely well in Japan. Reportedly, it's been the #1 best-selling game there 3 out of its first 4 weeks, and apparently it's been selling out frequently on top of that. So it's been a big hit not only worldwide, but it's also been a big hit in Japan. In fact, it's currently outselling Dragon's Dogma 2 in Japan, which is kind of crazy to think about. I mean, this is a new IP after all. But so far, it's sold 91,000 units in Japan, and there still seems to be more demand. I mean, Shift Up already announced that it exceeded expectations, so like I keep saying, I mean, clearly they are doing something right with this game. Stellar Blade, it's just a refreshing game to see in 2024, and I think it's evidence that a lot of people do want games like this. Anyways, though, that's going to be it for this episode, but as always, hit that subscribe button, and until next time, peace out.